All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you're joining us from, and welcome to this webinar. Right? Yes, so our webinar today is about never trust, always verify, what zero trust means for you in Microsoft 365. My name is Edwin Law, and I serve as the Microsoft Solutions Lead here at Cybersecurity. And at Cybersecurity, we are really committed at equipping businesses, governments, and nonprofits across the globe with practical, scalable, and secure technology solutions that drive impact, enhance resilience, and enable digital transformation. But before we begin, here are some housekeeping notes. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. We are so glad that you could make time to join us today. As well, just note that we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So jot down your questions as we go. And then, yes, of course, this session is being recorded and it will be shared afterwards for your reference. But before we dive into today's topic, please allow me to briefly introduce the organization behind this session, which is Cybersecurity. And at Cybersecurity, we say that we specialize in delivering practical, secure, and scalable technology solutions that are tailored for your organization. We are driven by our mission, which is encoded at the heart of our name, which is basically services and solutions invested and integrated into your business for you to achieve success and have an impact. And we endeavor to do this through our core values, which is basically to do our work excellently. We collaborate with you, we do it professionally, and we want to always innovate, and while at it, have fun. So some of our solutions offerings are packaged in the following ways. So we have development services, which is basically building applications from the ground up. We have deployment services, which is basically looking at your software as a service and trying to make sure that you are able to configure and tailor and customize it to suit how your environment or how your organization would want to use the technology. And lastly is technology consulting and support, which is also the pillar that is supporting this particular webinar today. And that is who we are. And so just diving into our topic today, looking at never trust, always verify, so zero trust. Statistics, most attackers don't break in, they log in. So, you can see the statistics there in terms of 61% of all breaches involve, credentials, about 4,000 password attacks every second, and 76% of businesses expect a successful attack in the next 12 months. So that is why we are going through this particular session today, to be able to arm you in terms of being able to prevent such breaches. Now, another statistic that is very interesting here is that, for basic security, basic security hygiene still protects about 98% of attacks. So one of the basic security hygienes that we are going to be talking about today is zero trust. So if you joined us in our previous webinar, it was, Cybersecurity 101, hygiene, looking at how we can be able to protect our environment. And today we are building upon that, talking about zero trust. Now, we know that security is paramount for all our organizations. And of course, the first level is to be able to prevent such breaches from happening. And with us today is the one and only Gift Amokoy, who is a cybersecurity expert, and he will be taking us through what is zero trust and what would that mean for your environment or for your organization, and how are you able to, implement those particular principles to make sure that you have a secure environment. So without further ado, make welcome Mr. Gift Amokoy.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Just give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. Thank you very much, Edwin. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm thrilled you're joining us today for what I believe is one of the most important conversations we can have about security in our modern workplace. Over the next couple of minutes, we are going to explore something that's fundamentally changing how we think about protecting our organizations, and that is zero trust security in Microsoft 365. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Zero trust sounds pretty harsh, right? Maybe even a little paranoid. But here's the thing. In today's world, we're accessing company data from coffee shops, home offices, airports, and everywhere in between. The old security model of trust but verify just doesn't cut it anymore. So today I'm speaking to three distinct groups in this webinar, and I promise each of you will walk away with actionable insights. Now, for our everyday Microsoft 365 users, you'll understand why security is changing, what it means for your daily work, and how these changes actually make your life easier and safer. For our IT administrators, we'll dive a little bit into the technical architecture, implementation strategies, and how to roll this out without overwhelming your teams or your users. And for our business leaders, you'll see the business case, the risk mitigation, and maybe why Zero Trust isn't just an IT initiative. It's a business imperative that protects your most valuable assets. Okay, so let's get started. Now, let's rewind for a second. For years, companies relied on what we call the castle and moat model. As you can see, this is the castle, this is where the water is, that's what we call the moat. If you are inside the network, which is the castle, you are trusted. If you are outside, you aren't. It's that simple. Now, let me paint you a picture. It's 2015. Sarah, a marketing manager, walks into the office, sits at her desk, logs into her computer inside the company firewall, and gets to work. Now, the security model was simple. If you're inside the building, connected to our network, you're trusted. The castle and moat approach, and that is what we call the castle and moat approach. As long as you got past the drawbridge, which is this, you had access. Now, fast forward to today. Sarah now works from home 3 days a week. She accesses SharePoint from her laptop at Java. She reviews documents on her iPad while traveling. She checks Teams messages on her phone during her daughter's swimming practice. And you know what? So do thousands of employees across millions of organizations worldwide. Now, the perimeter, of course, it's gone. It evaporated the moment we all went mobile and cloud-based. Now, here's the sobering reality. 81% of data breaches involve compromised credentials. Think about that. Now, four out of five breaches happen because someone got access to a legitimate username and password. They did not break down the door. They walked right through the front entrance with stolen keys. Now, a breach was reported the other day involving personal accounts where millions of credentials were siphoned by infostealer malware from unsecure infected devices over time, making the credentials available to attackers to use in credential stuffing and phishing attacks across platforms. Yep. So this is why we need zero trust. Not because we do not trust our users, we absolutely do, but because in a world where credentials can be stolen, devices can be compromised, and threats increasingly sophisticated, we need a security model that does not assume trust based on a location or a single login. Okay? Huh. So let's start with what this means for you, the everyday Microsoft 365 user. Now, when you're logging in and Microsoft suddenly asks you to verify your identity again, maybe with multi-factor authentication or through the Authenticator app, that's not because IT is being annoying. That is zero trust doing its job. Or when you try to open a file from SharePoint on your personal device and it says access blocked. That is access blocked or device not compliant. That is not punishment, that is protection, okay? Now, let's make it real. When you sign in from new location, it asks for MFA. When you download a confidential file, it checks if your device is encrypted. When your session times out after a short while, that's limiting exposure. So each of those steps might seem small, but together they actually form your security safety net. Okay. Now, I know sometimes it feels like an extra step, especially when you're in a hurry. But the truth is, those steps are saving us from a world of trouble. Because if an attacker tries to use your credential, that extra verification can stop them cold. It's kind of like the airport security. Even if you've flown before, and even if you're a pilot, you still go through screening, right? And why? Because trust is earned every time you show up, not just once. So if you've ever been prompted to verify your sign in, even though you are using your usual device, that is zero trust. That's the system saying, hey, I just want to make sure it's really you. Okay. Huh. So as you can see also on this next slide, this is now how a real world breach usually looks like. So of course, we usually have, it normally starts with a phishing email, like the example I just mentioned earlier. So in this case, your users or your employee will receive a link or even an attachment that has malware in it. So when the employee either opens the attachment or even clicks the link, now the attacker will actually get access to your environment. So your credentials will be stolen. So where ideally attackers will get your username and password to your environment. Then once they have access to your particular environment, especially once they have persistent access to your environment, now that's why we introduce the third stage, which is the lateral movement, where now they can access everything inside your tenant and be able to do some reconnaissance, collect data, and that's where now data exfiltration comes. Now, financial and customer data is stolen, and this usually happens after they've actually spent some considerable amount of time within your environment. So sometimes, as security administrators or as security practitioners, we usually try and reduce the mean time to detect and also the mean time to remediate for such situations. But that's why we are talking about zero trust to even prevent such occurrences from happening in the first place. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now let's peek under the hood a bit. So Microsoft 365 didn't just throw zero trust in as a buzzword. It's built on it. So what exactly is zero trust? Now, at its heart, it's beautifully simple. Never trust, always verify. Instead of trusting someone because they're inside the network, we verify every single access request as though it's originating from an untrusted network every single time. Okay. Now, the model has three key principles. Verify explicitly. Now, never assume identity or device safety. Yeah, then use least privilege access. Give only what is necessary. Okay. Then the third is assume breach. Operate as if an attacker could already be inside. Now, Microsoft implements this through 6 connected layers: identity, endpoints or devices, applications, network, infrastructure, and data. So here's how it plays out in the Microsoft 365 world. When we talk about identity, we use the underlying tool is something called Entra ID, which checks who you are using multi-factor authentication. And also it has conditional access and even risk-based sign-ins. Now, when we think about endpoints and devices, we use Intune to ensure the device you're using is healthy, compliant, and secure. Then when we talk about applications and data, we have Defender for cloud apps, which monitors behavior and blocks risky actions. Then also when we talk about protection and monitoring, we have Defender for Endpoint and Sentinel, which continuously watch for suspicious activities. So let's say you're trying to open sensitive Excel file. Microsoft 365 quietly runs through a checklist. Are you really who you say you are? Is your device compliant and encrypted? Are you in a trusted location? Are there any recent risky sign-ins from your account? Now, if you pass all those checks, access granted. If not, you get blocked or you get limited access to your resources. It's kind of like having an invisible security guard checking IDs, badges, and intent, all in milliseconds. And here's the beauty. Most of this happens behind the scenes. So users stay productive while the system quietly ensures safety. All right. Okay. Now, let's break down the three fundamental principles I mentioned earlier. So let's start with verify explicitly. Now, here we authenticate and authorize based on all available data points, not just username and password, but who is the user? What device are they using? Where are they connecting from? Is their device compliant with our security standards? Is the app they're accessing up to date? Are they showing any risky behavior patterns? Now, for our end users, this might mean you're asked to approve a notification on your phone when logging in from a new location. It's not because we don't trust you, it's because we want to make sure that it's actually you. Okay. Then let's move ahead to use least privilege access. Okay. Now, this means giving people access to only what they need when they need it. That is no more, no less. Think of it like this. In the old days, once you're in the building, you might have access to every room. With least privilege, you get access to your office, the conference rooms you need, and the kitchen, but not the CEO's office, right? Or the server room, unless your job specifically requires it. Now, for business leaders, this principle dramatically reduces your blast radius. If credentials are compromised, the damage is limited to what that person had access to, not your entire organization. Okay, it's important to actually remember that. Then, of course, when you talk about assume breach, now this is the mindset shift. Okay, we assume that bad actors are already somewhere in our environment or will get in eventually. So we minimize the blast radius, we segment access, we verify end-to-end encryption, and we use analytics to detect unusual behavior. And so for the IT people within the audience, if you've heard about UEBA, which stands for User Entity Behavioral Analytics, this is one of those things that you can actually use to monitor your environment. So it's like having security cameras, motion detectors, and locked compartments throughout your house, rather than just a lock on the front door. Okay, right. Now, okay, so now you might be probably thinking, this sounds like I'm going to be clicking through security prompts all day long. Yeah, we get it. Nobody wants that. But here's what actually happens when zero trust is implemented well. Okay, now authentication gets smarter, not harder. You'll likely set up multi-factor authentication if you haven't already. Yes, and yes, this means that when you log in, you'll have to verify that it's actually you. This is usually by approving a notification on your phone or even using biometrics like fingerprint or face recognition. Now, but here's what most people do not realize. Once Once you've authenticated from your managed work device at your typical work location, the system learns your patterns, okay? It becomes nearly invisible. You're not constantly re-authenticating throughout the day. However, if you suddenly try to log in from a new device in a different country, yeah, you'll get extra verification steps. And honestly, would you want to know if someone was actually trying, to access your account from, let's say, Russia, and while you're sitting here in Nairobi? I would want to know, actually. So another thing is with zero trust, your work gets more flexible and secure. Now, with zero trust properly implemented, you can safely work from anywhere. You can access the files you need from your tablet, review documents on your phone during your commute, and even collaborate with colleagues around the globe, all while the security is working invisibly in the background. Okay. The other day, one user told me that I used to feel guilty while working from the coffee shops, like I was putting the company at risk. Now I know the security travels with me. This is a user who was used to the old way of working, where to access any company data, they had to go to the office location to be within the network. But now, with how times have actually changed, they're able to work from anywhere, travel, as long as they're logged into their computers using their VPNs, using multi-factor authentication set up on their mobile phone, they know that they're okay. So this is some of those things that actually help when we talk about, remote work and the ability to actually work anywhere. Okay. Now, let's talk about how you become part of the defense. Now, when you see a multi-factor authentication prompt you are not expecting, that's actually security working for you. Okay. Now, that's the system saying, hey, someone's trying to use your credential. Is it you? Right? So I encourage all of our users, if you get an MFA prompt you didn't initiate, deny it and immediately report it. You can either, talk to your IT team, or even in cases where you receive an email that you suspect that it could be a phishing email, use the reporting link on your Outlook window. And so when you do that, that notification will actually go to your security teams or even to your managed service provider, and they can actually help you to, remediate or even triage or even investigate further what the issue could be. Okay. So again, as I said, if you get an MFA prompt and you did not initiate, deny it and immediately report it, when you do that, you just stopped an attack. So in this case, you're not just a user, you're a critical part of our security defense. Okay. Then some real examples of what changes. Now, when you download a sensitive customer file, let's say if you're in the health industry, if you're in the insurance, if you're in the insurance or even legal industry, it might automatically be encrypted and tracked. Okay, you can still use it normally, but if someone tries to forward it outside the organization, protection kicks in. Okay. Now, if your device hasn't updated its security patches, you might get a reminder before, let's say, you access certain sensitive resources. This is not bureaucracy, it's actually ensuring your device isn't vulnerable to known threats. Then also, what else? You might notice that you can't access certain admin level sites or even settings anymore. Okay. And that is even locally on your PC. Now, that is least privilege access in action. If you need that access for your job, talk to your IT. But if you do not need it, you're actually safer without it. Okay. Now, the bottom line for end users is, yes, there are some new habits to build, but most of the security happens behind the scenes. And what you do experience, like MFA, is actually protecting you personally and not just the company. So that's why even when I mentioned earlier about the current password breach that occurred with personal accounts, this is yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago. You know, having proper security practices like making sure multi-factor authentication is activated on all your on all your cloud applications is actually important. If you can avoid SMS authentication, because right now also with the attackers actually coming up with really sophisticated and easier ways to even bypass SMS authentication, use passkeys, use the authenticator app that you have within your phones. And if you can, this is both for the end users and also for the IT admins, enable passwordless authentication. That way you do not have to, keep on using your passwords all the time. Another thing is to use a password manager, right? Because if you use the same password across all other systems that you actually have access to, and then an attacker gets access to one system, it's highly likely that they'll try and use that password on all other systems, on all other applications that you might be logged into. And that will actually increase your threat surface. Okay. Right. I hope so far so good. Yeah. Now, let's look at business value of zero trust. Now, for the leaders, I want to shift gears and talk about why zero trust isn't just an IT project, why it's a business strategy that directly impacts your bottom line, your reputation, and also your competitive advantage. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about numbers, right? Now, the average cost of a data breach in 2025 was about $4.4 million, according to the cost of a data breach report. Now, for organizations with less than 500 employees, a single, or even 500, 200, a single breach can be existential, right? But here's the interesting part. Organizations with mature zero trust implementations detected breaches 76 days faster and contained them 28% quicker than those without. Okay? So faster detection and containment directly correlates to lower costs. Now, zero trust actually reduces your attack surface. It limits lateral movement. It makes every breach attempt harder and noisier. Now, in business terms, it dramatically reduces your financial risk exposure. Okay. Now, zero trust principles also align with, virtually every major compliance framework that we have out there. In fact, many frameworks right now, in fact, many frameworks are now explicitly requiring zero trust architectures. Now, NIST cybersecurity framework includes zero trust. In fact, there are a lot of zero trust components that have been built on top of the NIST cybersecurity framework, by the way, okay? Then also we have CISA zero trust maturity model, which provides government guidance. Then also we have PCI DSS 4.0, which incorporates zero trust principles. Then, of course, we have industry-specific regulations, which are actually following suit. When you talk about GDPR, when you talk about, data protection, when you talk even about some of the AI, the newer AI, compliance frameworks that we have out there. So implementing zero trust isn't just security; it's a compliance accelerator. Okay. Your audits get easier, your risk assessments improve, and in some other cases, even your insurance premiums may actually decrease. Okay. Okay. Then I want us to look at these images for just for a second. Now look at the image. This image showing risky signing activity over 12 months. And the impact of zero trust policy enforcement, which is what you can see within, with the blue line over here. So ideally, The expected outcomes would be, in such a scenario, up to 85% reduction in risky signings after policy enforcement. Okay. Then you can also get, 3 times increase in even blocked malicious attempts. And even if you do this correctly, let's say within a 6 months timeline, you can actually have 6 months to achieve 85% risk reduction. So this is how a typical graph would actually look like when you actually enforce zero trust policies within your organization. Okay. Now, also, just sharing more on impact of zero trust policy enforcement. Let's talk a little bit about, the security posture. Now, your customers and partners care about your security posture. Now, more and more RFPs require security questionnaires, okay? Enterprise customers won't work with vendors who cannot demonstrate mature security practices. Now, a strong zero trust implementation becomes a competitive differentiator. You can confidently answer those security questionnaires, you can earn customer trust, and you can even pursue larger contracts that require specific security certifications. And we are seeing this more of this with various industries, with various clients, where there is a requirement to actually prove or even show that you are secure in a certain way. Let's say it could be some of the frameworks. Some particular companies also use this as a policy where they actually look at your security posture, your secure score, and some of the things that you've actually implemented internally within your organization. Now, an institution I've worked with recently actually won a major, government contract specifically because they could actually demonstrate their zero trust architecture. Now, this is a funny bit. Their competitor had actually had a lower price but could not meet the security requirements. You see? So what does that tell you? Security right now, it's actually a business imperative. It's not one of those things that you actually just push aside and just run your business as usual. Okay. Now, but here now when we think about what leaders need to do, actually, here's I would actually say here's what often gets missed. Okay. The cost of not implementing zero trust is actually growing. So as threats evolve and regulations tighten, you're not choosing between zero trust and the status quo. You're actually choosing between proactive security and reactive crisis management. So you better you you'd rather go towards the proactive security side of things, okay? So what you need to do as a leader or as a business owner or someone in a decision making seat, you need to champion it from the top. As I said, this cannot be just an IT initiative. So when leadership clearly communicates that security is a priority, adoption actually skyrockets, okay? Then also allocate appropriate resources. Now, both budget and people. Your IT team needs time to actually do this right. Then also support change management. Your users need training, communication, and support. Budget for this if you have to, okay? Then also make security part of your culture. Recognize employees who report suspicious activity, make security awareness part of onboarding as well, especially when because you don't know what culture your new users are actually coming from. So make security awareness part of onboarding. Then also lead by example. We have so many situations where because someone is in the C-suite level or they hold up certain position, they usually bypass some of these checks and balances. But in reality, those are the accounts that usually get targeted the most, okay? Then also measure what matters. Ask for regular reports on key metrics, okay? So things to do with MFA adoption rates, policy compliance, detected threats, and also time to remediation. These are things that can be provided to you by your IT and security admins. And also when you're looking at MFA adoption rates, these are things that you can also have a discussion and a chat with your end users to make sure that everything is as should be. Then so how do we put all this into action after today? So let's break it down. For all Microsoft 365 users, make sure your MFA methods are actually updated, okay? Ideally, use the Authenticator app and not SMS. Like I said, right now with the SMS authentication, hackers have actually discovered ways to actually bypass it. So use the Authenticator app if you can and use passkeys. Then do not reuse passwords ever. I hope that's, I can't stress that enough times. Be cautious when accessing work data on personal devices. Keep personal devices for personal stuff and work devices for work data. Use password managers if you can, because they actually help you with securing your passwords and actually storing your passwords in a secure way, and they actually help you also with generating unique passwords every time when you access your applications. And this also applies for your personal stuff, for your personal applications, for your personal devices. Use passkeys if you are able to, and also biometric authentication. Now, for our IT administrators and IT managers, review your conditional access policies. Okay. Then also when I talk about conditional access policies, um, within your Microsoft 365 Admin Center and also Entra ID, we have a zero trust template that you can actually take advantage of. So it has different policy definitions that you can actually go through each one of them to actually set them up. And also you can start on with the policy definitions on report mode, so that you can actually audit and review and assess how the policies affect your users. Same to within your conditional access window, we have the section about what if. The what if section actually allows you to actually test some of these policies and how they might actually affect some of your users, okay? Then also enforce Intune device compliance. So if you're in an organization, especially that most organizations nowadays issue out laptops, and we have a lot of remote working for all our users. So use Intune to enforce device compliance, okay? If you can be able to, enter join those devices, even better. If your organization works in a hybrid kind of setup, see how you can actually take advantage of hybrid join. Configure hybrid join within your devices so that you can take advantage of both scenarios, okay? Then, of course, turn on identity protection in Entra. And this also applies also for your on-prem servers as well as your cloud servers. Then also check Defender and Sentinel dashboards regularly. Remember, I said, and this also applies to everyone within the audience, that security is a continuous process. It's not a one thing, it's not a one quick fix that you just do and stop. So it's a continuous process. So this is something that you need to do regularly. Now, for business leaders, keep zero trust conversations alive. It's part of your digital transformation, not separate from it. Okay. Now, support user awareness and reward good security behavior. Include security posture updates in leadership meetings. Yeah. Now, remember, zero trust isn't just a switch you flip, it's a journey. Okay. Like I mentioned, sometimes it even takes 6 months to a year to actually have all these controls and policies actually up to date. So every time we enforce multi-factor authentication, classify data, or even train our users, we are taking one more step toward that goal. Now, when we talk about zero trust, I also just wanted to mention something about how to implement zero trust within your organizations. And this is mostly for the IT managers and business leaders. You can actually watch out for other sessions that we'll have later on next month, where we shall actually do a proper deep dive on zero trust frameworks and also the zero trust workshop, where we shall actually break down all the things that you need to do to actually enforce zero trust within your organization, and also how we can actually help you achieve a certain level of zero trust within your particular entity. We shall actually break down the zero trust frameworks, compare the framework with different compliance and frameworks that we have outside there, such as NIST and also guidelines, and also how we shall also look at different technology pillars, like I mentioned before, and how they actually culminate into the overall security of your organization. Well, also, when you talk about also policy optimization, things to do with also threat protection. So watch out for other sessions in where we shall actually cover more on this. Yeah, so as we head towards the end, so these are some of the key takeaways that we've actually mentioned today. Like I mentioned, so the old security models do not work for cloud and mobile work. As I mentioned before, the perimeter is actually gone. Identity is the new perimeter, okay? So zero trust ideally means you verify everything. So never trust, always verify. And this is actually done on identity, device, location and risk, applications, infrastructure, etc. Okay. Then also know that zero trust is actually built into Microsoft 365. I know I've mentioned about some concepts that we have within our Microsoft environments. For the smaller organizations, whether you are one person, two-person, five-person organization, even with the business standard or even with the business basic license, turn on your security defaults. That already covers quite so many principles that exist within the zero trust space. Then also for the IT team, look at actually doing this in a phased scenario. Start with your identity. Secure identity first. Like I usually tell most IT admins or even businesses, start with identity in everything that we do. Same applies to users. When you talk about securing your emails, that is identity. When you talk about locking your email accounts with multi-factor authentication, making sure that you actually, use different passwords for different accounts. When you talk about, lateral movement and how actually phishing gets inside our environments, all those actually based on identity. And as you know, currently identity-based attacks are the number one threat vector that we're actually facing in the world today. Okay. Yeah. So let me wrap up with this thought. So zero trust isn't about distrust. It's about verification. Okay. It's about building a security model that matches the reality of how we work today, in a distributed, mobile, cloud-based, and always connected world. It's about moving from are you inside our walls to can we verify who you say you are, using a healthy device, accessing appropriate resources in a manner that is consistent with your normal patterns. Okay. Now, for the end users, it means security that protects you without getting in your way. For your IT administrators, it means powerful tools to implement defense and in-depth security that actually works in the modern workplace. And then, of course, for business leaders, it means risk reduction, regulatory compliance, and even a competitive advantage. Okay. So the question isn't whether to implement zero trust, it's how quickly you can get there. The threat landscape is not getting easier. Attackers are getting more sophisticated. But with zero trust in Microsoft 365, we have powerful tools to defend our organizations, our data, and our people. Yeah. So I want to thank you for your time today. I'm going to stick around for Q&A now. But even before we get to questions, here's my challenge to each and every one of you. For the end users, as I've mentioned this before, set up multi-factor authentication immediately if you haven't already. Use passwordless if you can. For the IT administrators, schedule a zero trust planning session with your team as soon as possible. Remember, I mentioned we shall have more talks and webinars and about zero trust, and also looking at the different pillars of security. So just watch out for it. Also, for the business leaders, have the security conversation with your IT leadership as soon as possible as well. The zero trust, the journey to zero trust starts with a single step. Take that step today. Yeah. So thank you, and let's open it up for any questions.
Wow, thank you so much, Gift. I don't know if there are any questions. We have a Q&A facility, so you can just feel free to drop in your question in the chat. And as you do that, I think my takeaway, Gift, is that identity is the new perimeter, right? And I can actually attest to it. It's a very, very, it's a cold day today. In Nairobi. And so people might be working from different places. And therefore, we are embracing, remote working and all. And so, like you mentioned, truly identity is the new perimeter. And I like the fact that you said, we start with identity and then we build in phases. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And that is why we are here. So if you have an implementation that you're struggling with, or you'd want to know how to start and how to build, and that is why we are here. You can feel free to reach out to us, and we are able to guide you in terms of what are the next steps, where can you start, and then we can build a roadmap for you in terms of how to do this, your security architecture for your organization. So so feel free to reach out to us on that. I'm checking if there are any questions. Right, I don't see any of them. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah, I see Jean-Philippe. I don't know if I got that right. I'm saying it's a very instructive session. Will the recording be shared? Yes, the recording will be shared after this. Thank you so much for the compliments, Jean-Philippe. Right. I don't know if there are any other comments on it. Right. So with regards to zero trust, Mr. Gift, what can we do if you have, your basic M365 business basic standard? What are the things that we can turn on for those of us on here who probably might be having that in our environment?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have the security defaults. Okay. We have the security defaults that you can find within your environment. And when you actually turn it on, it actually it has things like multi-factor authentication for everyone. It also has things to do with identity protection, some of the email protection features that actually come native with your business basic and also business standard licensing. Okay, so security defaults, ideally, they are pre-configured security settings in Microsoft Entra ID, which is actually what controls your identity infrastructure, and it's designed to actually provide baseline protection for all organizations, especially those without dedicated security teams. So for the organizations which are bigger with dedicated security teams, that's why now they would actually use conditional access policies. Okay, some of the key features that you can think about are things to do with enforcing multi-factor authentication for all users, also blocking legacy authentication protocols, for instance, POP and IMAP, for those who know what they actually mean. Then also it requires administrative roles to use multi-factor authentication every time. Then if you are a new tenant, and if let's say you get you set up a new tenant, or your service provider actually sets you up, so this is automatically enabled for new tenants unless conditional access is used. Now, as I mentioned, it's actually best for small to medium organizations, or even those just starting with Microsoft security. Okay. Then also, yeah, when we talk about how those two relate, is security defaults can be seen as a starting point for zero trust. Okay. As your organization matures, you replace security defaults with custom conditional access policies to implement a full zero trust strategy. So, of course, these are things that we can actually come in and also just guide you further in how, and especially when you talk about the different pillars. Remember, I mentioned we have identity, we have endpoints, we have application, we have data, we have infrastructure. We can actually come in and also help you to guide you to actually how you can look at all these things from a holistic point of view, and implement what needs to be done. Okay.
Right. Right. Thanks so much, Gift. I think we have no more questions. I don't know if you wanted to kind of like, oh, I see one from Victorine. Victor, do you want to just type that in? Can you just put that up in the Q&A section? And we can address it. Right. Even as she does that, you have a security group that you're hosting, right? I don't know if you'd want to do a plug on that, right? And how people can be able to join that particular security group.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So we have we decided to actually start a security group that is actually based on the Microsoft security ecosystem. And this security group will have more deep dive sessions, specifically on the Microsoft security stack, where we shall look at both technical and non-technical concepts. So the whole idea is to be able to learn, to share knowledge, and also just to improve the security posture of all our users, especially locally. So we shall be having deep dive sessions, technical sessions, we shall have demos, we shall talk about governance, we shall talk about some of the pillars that we have within our Microsoft space. We shall look at identity, we shall look at endpoint, we shall look at threat detection, we shall look at governance and compliance. We shall even have sessions where we also, work hand in hand with the people that we have working in the, let's say, in the GRC space. And because we notice so many organizations actually on the Microsoft ecosystem. So we wanted to create a community where people can actually come in, share ideas, talk about security things, or even challenges that they actually face. So right now, as it is, let me see if I can actually quickly find the link. As it is, we have the Kenya Microsoft meetup group, the Kenya Microsoft Security Meetup group that you can find online. I'll also quickly paste the link here, so you can join it. And also we shall also do like a WhatsApp group where you can be able to see coming events. And we shall be posting events in advance. The next event that we shall have will be at the end of November, where, like I mentioned before, we shall actually do a proper technical deep dive on zero trust. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of technical things that IT admins also need to implement when it comes to zero trust, and just to take you through how it's actually done. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Let me paste the link here on the chat. I hope everyone will be able to see it.
All right. Even as you do that, I don't know if Victorine, you've managed to type your question, or you want to just unmute and probably ask. Even as we draw to a close. Or I don't know if the hand raise was by mistake. Either way, I think with 5 minutes to the top of the hour, we wanted to keep this short and sweet. Of course. Oh, yeah. Victorine, you there?
Thank you. I
Right.
wanted to understand
Yep.
how Microsoft Entra ID have supported the zero trust principles.
Ah, okay. That's an interesting question. Like I said before, zero trust is actually one of the main pillars of zero trust is identity. And Microsoft Entra ID is the infrastructure behind identity. So even when you look at identity as the first pillar and as the first phase of your zero trust implementation, all these controls, most of the controls that we've just talked about, the baseline is really on identity. And the engine that actually controls this is Microsoft Entra ID. So when we talk about conditional access policies, those are they're actually set up on Microsoft Entra ID. When you talk about multi-factor authentication, when you talk about multi-factor authentication strength, they're actually implemented on Entra ID. When we talk about risk-based sign-ins and also risk-based users, they're also connected to Entra ID. So, and how does it connect to how does this connect to the other pillars? When you use things like Microsoft Intune, Defender, they actually derive most of those signals from your identity, which is Entra ID. So Entra ID being the engine that controls your identity, it's one of the core pillars of the zero trust framework. Yeah, I hope that actually answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right. I'm guessing that will be it for now so that we can keep to our time and respect your time as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. As Gift has mentioned, we are going to be doing more sessions like this, so keep a lookout for content, more content and more dates and times for more content around security. Yeah, so Gift, I don't know if you have a last parting shot. Yeah, or shall we just say, don't never trust, always verify.
Yeah, never trust, always verify. I've
Yeah,
just added the link to the chat. I hope it's visible to everyone. The link to the Kenya Microsoft Security Group.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I see it's
Yeah.
down there, right? It should be visible. So feel free to just join on there. Yeah, I think we can take more of the conversations there because of time today. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining, and we hope that you all have a great day ahead. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay.